This is Trey Wright for Jazz Guitar Today, and in this lesson we're going to talk about improvising over 2-5-1s. In particular, we're going to talk about how to outline each chord change and each resolution to the next chord. Just to review, let's talk about how a 2-5-1 is constructed. If I take a C major scale, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, and build a chord off the second scale degree, I get D minor 7. If I go to the 5, we have G7, and then the 1, which is major 7. So I have 2, 5, 1. In the key of C, that really gives us D minor, G7, C major 7. Now, because all three chords are based out of the C major system, that means I can use a C major scale for improvisation. Let's hear what that sounds like. I have a loop pedal going here. Now, if you notice, the line I created was very melodic, but if I pulled the chords away, you really wouldn't be able to hear which chord I was improvising on at any given moment. So what we need to do is start focusing on the arpeggios, and particularly connecting the arpeggios. And we're going to find that the 7s and 3rds are really, really important for that. So if I play up my D minor 7 arpeggio, that gives me D, F, A, C, and then G7, that gives me G, B, D, F, and then C major 7, C, E, G, B. It sounds like this put together. Now, if you notice, that's not a very interesting line. It just literally sounds like the arpeggio because that's what it is. So we need to talk about how to connect these things. So if you'll notice, if I climb up the D minor arpeggio, once I get to the flat 7, my 3rd of G is just a half step below. So that's going to be really, really important for connections. In fact, listen to this. If I just play D minor to G7 and then walk up the D minor 7 and go down a half step, your ear hears that resolution. So that's example 3. Check out example 4. Example 4 is doing that essentially backwards, where you're starting on the flat 7, going down the arpeggio, and then playing the 3rd. That's one of my personal favorite sounds. All right, so now we've connected the D minor to the G7. What about the G7 to C major? We're going to use a similar technique. If I find my flat 7 of G, which is F, and go down a half step to the E, which is the 3rd of C, now I suddenly have that resolution. So if I play G7 to C major 7, notice just by playing those two notes, your ear hears the entire thing. So check out example 6. So this is going up the D minor 7 arpeggio. So I went up the arpeggio, resolved to B, and then played the next resolution. Now, one trick that makes this sound even more interesting would be to resolve to the E an 8th note before, so on the and a 4. You'll see this in example 7. Let's listen to what this sounds like with the play along. I'll do it again. Now, if you notice in that second time, I went up to the higher octave, and you'll see that in example 7. Sorry, it's example 8. Okay, so moving on, we can start to create longer lines that are continuous 8th note lines that build on this concept. So example 9, you'll notice it has both of those resolutions in it. Example 10 does as well, but one thing interesting about example 10 is that we have a half-step resolution into the line. So if I'm going to do this, I still need to have the D on beat 1. I'm just going to put the C sharp on the and a 4. So it sounds like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's hear what those sound like with the play along. Here's example 9. Here's example 10. So one thing to notice too, even though all these lines have outlined the D to the G and then the G to the C, you don't have to play it that way. You could bring out the D minor to the G7 and then ignore the resolution to C, or vice versa. So I would encourage you to just experiment, have fun with this. And I hope you'll take the time to like and subscribe to Jazz Guitar Today. And while you're on YouTube, feel free to check out my channel, which is at Trey Wright Trio. Thank you so much for watching.